Welcome back, friends. So let's talk about the right atrium. Okay, basically the right atrium is just one of the four chambers of the heart, and it is divided into two. So you have the external part and the internal part. Internal part, also known as the interior aspect of the right atrium. I think you should familiarize yourself with this term, the interior part of the right atrium, because it's the most common used term when referring to the internal aspect of the right atrium. Okay, so we start with the external part. So these are the features which you can appreciate on the external part of the right atrium. So you can see here you have the inferior vena cava, you also have the superior vena cava beside. So these two, they are emptying their content, which is deoxygenated blood, into the right atrium. Apart from that, remember when we talked about the coronary circulation, we talked about the principal vein of the heart, which is basically the coronary sinus. So that principal vein, the coronary sinus itself, emptied its content into the right atrium as well. So this is the first point which you need to take note. The superior, inferior, and coronary sinus, they empty their content on the right atrium. They fall under external feature of the right atrium. Okay, so the next thing you're going to appreciate here is the AV groove. Okay, AV groove, remember when you talked about the coronary circulation, so if you didn't watch that video on the coronary circulation, I can advise you go watch it, because it is going to give you the good background on this. Okay, so AV groove is basically it's basically the right coronary sulcus which encloses the right coronary artery as it is moving, descending downwards. Okay, so you can appreciate it on the right atrium as well. So this is the groove which you're going to appreciate on the external features of the right atrium. Okay, aside that, you also have the SA node. You can see here the SA node is on the superior aspect of the sulcus terminalis. Okay, so you have the sulcus terminalis, you also have the cresta terminalis. Okay, so we'll talk about the cresta terminalis when we talk about the interior part. Okay, so what I want you to take note here is that on the external features of the right atrium, we have the SA node within the superior component, or within the superior aspect of the sulcus terminalis. Okay, apart from that one, you can also appreciate the right auricle. Okay, so this is the right auricle. So the right atrium forms the right auricle, also known as the right atrial appendage. Okay, so now enough for the external features. Let's go to the internal, or rather the interior aspect of the right atrium. Okay, this is important because most of the questions they refer to this. Okay, most of the questions to deal with the right atrium, they ask you to talk about the interior aspect of the right atrium. So basically the interior aspect of the right atrium is divided into two by crista terminalis. Okay, so this is the crista terminalis here. Okay, so this crista terminalis divides the internal part of the right atrium into two. So you have the first one, which is the posterior and the anterior. Okay, so this is the posterior. So for the posterior one, you can also refer to it as the sinus venorum. Okay, this is the sinus venorum, and this is the smooth part. Okay, so this is the smooth part. And when we talk about what you are going to find within this part, you are going to find that this inferior, superior, and the coronary sinus, they specific empty their content on the smooth aspect of the sinus venorum. Okay, the posterior aspect of the internal part of the right atrium. Okay, so This is the point to note here. Okay, and when we talk about its embryological origin, this sinus venorum is basically coming from sinus venosus. Okay, so you just change where there was venorum, you just change to venosus. Okay, so that's its origin. And then we talk about the anterior component here. So this is the anterior component. So the anterior component, it is also known as the atrium proper. Okay, so the atrium proper, it is rough. Okay, because it consists of the pectinate muscles. Okay, that's the reason why it is basically rough. Okay, and this part, when you talk about its embryological origin, it originated from the primitive atrium. Okay, so we go to the second point. So we have covered this part here, the sinus venorum and the atrium proper. So these two, they are divided by the crista terminalis. Okay, so crista terminalis, so it's the one which divides this part and this part. Okay, you have appreciated it here, it is here. Okay, and this part divided into the posterior and the anterior part. Okay, so let's go to the next point. The next point which you can appreciate is the fossa ovalis. Okay, this is the fossa ovalis here. Okay, you can see here, this is the fossa ovalis. So the fossa ovalis, basically it is on the interatrial septum, the septum which separates the two atrium, the right and the left. Okay, so this fossa ovalis is basically a remnant of foramen ovale. Okay, and it can allow light to left shunt of the blood. Okay, so remember, fossa ovalis allows light to left shunt of blood. Okay, so we can appreciate it on the interior aspect or the internal part of the right atrium. Then the next part we'll talk about, it will be tricuspid valve. So the tricuspid valve, basically they are found on the interior aspect of the right atrium, and these, they just prevent the regurgitation of the blood as it goes to the right ventricle. Okay, or in other way we can say they prevent the backflow of blood. Okay, I think this is a simple word we can use. Okay, then apart from that, we also have the other component which you can't appreciate here, but we can talk about them, but we can't appreciate them very well on this diagram. So this part is called the Koch triangle. Let me just write it, the Koch triangle. So you have the Koch triangle, you have also the Torus aorticus. Okay, so the spelling is like this, Torus aorticus. You can also appreciate the annulus ovalis. So you have also annulus ovalis. Okay, so don't worry about this, but you can just mention them. If you want to know the Koch triangle, this is just a landmark which is used to locate the AV node. Okay, and for this one, the other one, which is Torus aorticus, is just the deep part, and okay, it just present the deep and the anterior surface of the posterior sinus. And then the last one, which is annulus ovalis, just provide the prominent, or it is a prominent margin of the fossa ovalis, if you want to know about them. But don't worry about them, you can just list them because they are also content on the interior part of the right atrium. I think this is what you need to know about the right atrium. Until next time.